Hey everyone, welcome back. We're going to do a deep dive into something that's been on my mind a lot lately, homesteading.
Oh, yeah.
We've got Robin Wolf's Homesteading Basics course to kind of walk us through it.
Okay.
I'm excited to unpack this whole like back to the land thing.
Yeah, it's more than just a trend.
Yeah.
With everything going on, with climate concerns and grocery bills are skyrocketing, I think this idea of self-sufficiency is really starting to feel essential for people.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not about, escaping to a cabin in the woods,
Right.
right? You
Yeah.
can bring homesteading practices, right into your own backyard, even if you live in a city.
Yeah, absolutely. And this course really gets into the core of like why this matters. Think about it. Growing your own food means you're not at the mercy of supply chains or price hikes.
Right.
And plus, just imagine knowing exactly where your food comes from. No mysterious pesticides or like long distance trucking involved.
Okay, so you sold me on the why, but what exactly is homesteading?
Is it just gardening or is there more to it?
It's definitely more than just gardening, although that is a big part of it.
Okay.
It's about building a lifestyle that's less reliant on systems that you can't control.
Okay.
So think growing your own food, yes, but also maybe raising some chickens for eggs, learning to preserve your harvest, even like generating your own energy with solar panels.
Whoa.
It's all about taking back control.
Solar panels. That sounds pretty advanced.
Yeah.
I'm picturing myself more on the tomato plant in a pot level.
Right, and that's totally fine.
Okay.
Homesteading isn't about going all in overnight.
Right.
This course really emphasizes like starting small and building on your skills gradually.
Yeah.
So one raised bed this year could turn into like a whole garden next year.
Okay.
Who knows?
That's reassuring, but before I get too carried away with dreams of fresh baked bread and a coop full of chickens, what's the first thing someone should actually do if they're intrigued by homesteading?
Okay, well the course is big on planning. And it's not just about like drawing pretty garden layouts.
Right.
It starts with what they call a resource assessment,
Okay.
which is a fancy way of saying take stock of what you've got.
So, like, how much money I'm willing to spend, how much time I have, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just money and time. It's also about your land
Okay.
or even just your balcony space if you're in an apartment.
Right.
What kind of soil do you have? How much sun does it get? What are the zoning rules in your area?
Yeah.
They really want you to think through all the practicalities before you go out and buy a dozen chicks and realize your city doesn't allow backyard chickens.
That's a great point. It's easy to get caught up in the romantic vision, but reality can be a buzzkill.
Right.
I'm guessing this site analysis thing they talk about is key.
Absolutely. And they break it down into steps that are actually kind of fun. Imagine you're like a detective for your own backyard.
Okay.
You map out the boundaries. You identify any existing features like trees or sheds. Figure out if your land is hilly or flat. You're basically getting to know your space on a whole new level.
It's like you're creating a treasure map, but the treasure is your future homestead.
Right.
But let's be honest, some people might find all this planning a bit intimidating.
Yeah.
I'm more of a jump in and figure it out as I go kind of person.
Right. And that's totally valid.
Okay.
But here's the thing. Even a little planning can save you a lot of headaches down the road.
Okay.
Plus, the course makes it clear you don't have to be an expert to get started.
So no degree in permaculture required.
Nope. They really focus on those core homesteading skills that anyone can learn.
Okay, cool.
And speaking of skills, let's move on to what I know you're most excited about gardening.
Okay, I admit I do have visions of overflowing vegetable baskets dancing in my head,
Right.
but I have to confess my thumbs are far from green.
Oh, that's where the beauty of this course comes in.
Okay.
They break down gardening into bite-sized pieces, starting with the absolute basics, soil health and composting. It's amazing how, like, learning about those natural processes can completely change your relationship with your garden.
So it's not just about sticking seeds in the ground and hoping for the best.
Definitely not.
Hmm.
They actually encourage you to think of your compost pile as a mini ecosystem,
Okay.
a way to turn kitchen scraps and yard waste into nutrient-rich gold for your plants.
That's actually pretty cool, and it connects back to that whole self-sufficiency thing, right?
Right.
Less waste, more resources.
Exactly. And once you've mastered the art of composting, the course dives into everything from starting seeds to dealing with pests,
Okay.
all with a focus on organic and sustainable practices.
So no need to rush out and buy a bunch of chemical fertilizer.
Not at all. It's all about working with nature, not against it.
Okay.
And speaking of working with nature, let's move on to a topic that might surprise some folks raising chickens.
Chickens in my backyard. I thought that was just a country thing.
not anymore.
Really?
Urban chicken keeping is becoming increasingly popular,
Okay.
and for good reason.
Besides the obvious fresh eggs every morning, why are chickens such a good fit for homesteading?
Well, for starters, they're relatively low maintenance.
Okay.
They don't need walks like a dog.
Right?
And they can even help out in the garden by eating pests and fertilizing the soil.
Oh, so they're like little feathered gardeners.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
And don't forget, they're also a potential source of meat if you're comfortable with that aspect of homesteading.
Okay. I'm intrigued, but I have to admit I'm a bit squeamish about the whole, meat part.
And that's totally understandable.
Oh, okay.
This course is all about empowering you to make choices that align with your values.
Okay.
They even dedicate a whole section to ethical considerations of raising animals, which is something a lot of people don't talk about.
That's important. I'd want to make sure my chickens are happy and healthy, not just, egg-laying machines.
Exactly. And that's where good animal husbandry comes in.
Oh.
The course covers everything from choosing the right breed for your climate to building a safe and comfortable coop.
This is all starting to sound a bit overwhelming. I'm feeling like I need a homesteading mentor to hold my hand through this whole process.
Don't worry, that's where the community aspect comes in.
Okay.
We'll dive into that in more detail later.
Okay.
But just know that you're not alone in this journey. There are tons of resources and support networks available to help you succeed.
That's good to hear. I'm starting to realize that homesteading is more than just a set of skills.
Right.
It's a whole lifestyle shift, right?
You've hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
And that's why the course also delves into topics like food preservation, off-grid living, even basic carpentry and repairs.
Wait, carpentry? You're telling me I have to build my own house now?
Not necessarily,
Okay.
but having some basic DIY skills can be incredibly empowering on a homestead.
Okay.
Think about it. If you can fix a leaky faucet or build a simple raised bed,
Yeah.
you're less reliant on outside help,
Right.
which can save you money and give you a sense of accomplishment.
Okay, I see your point, but I'm not exactly handy with a hammer.
And that's okay. The course focuses on starting with small, manageable projects that build your confidence and teach you those essential skills.
Okay.
It's all about taking things step by step.
This is all starting to make sense, but let's be real, homesteading can be a pretty big investment, both in terms of time and money.
Yeah,
Is it really something that's accessible to everyone?
that's a great question, and one that the course addresses directly.
Okay.
It's all about finding ways to make homesteading work for your budget and lifestyle,
So no need to quit my job and buy a farm in the middle of nowhere.
unless that's your dream, of course.
Right.
But the beauty of homesteading is that you can scale it to fit your circumstances.
Okay.
Even if you're renting an apartment in the city, you can still incorporate elements like container gardening, composting, and reducing your reliance on single-use plastics.
That's reassuring to hear. I'm starting to see how homesteading can be a gradual process, a
Right.
way to slowly shift towards a more sustainable and self-sufficient lifestyle.
Exactly, and that's what makes it so empowering. It's not about perfection or following some rigid set of rules.
Right.
It's about finding what works for you and enjoying the journey.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I'm starting to see homesteading in a whole new light.
Good.
It's not just about living off the grid. It's about taking control of your life, connecting with nature, and building a more resilient future.
You've captured it perfectly.
Okay.
And we've only just scratched the surface. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll delve deeper into specific homesteading skills and explore some of the challenges and rewards that come with this amazing lifestyle.
Awesome. I can't wait. Welcome back. I'm still buzzing from our last conversation.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing how homesteading can seem so simple on the surface,
Yeah.
but then you realize just how much there is to learn.
Right. It's like that saying, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know.
Right, exactly.
But that's what makes it so exciting. There's always something new to discover, a new skill, to master a new way to connect with nature.
For sure. And I'm eager to dig into some of those specific skills.
Yeah.
I know this homesteading basics course we're talking about goes way beyond just the theory.
Absolutely. It's all about getting your hands dirty, literally.
Okay.
Let's start with Module 3, which focuses on gardening and composting.
Okay.
They really emphasize that connection between the soil and what you put on your table.
For someone who's only ever bought their vegetables from the grocery store,
Yeah,
the idea of actually growing my own food is mind-blowing.
I know.
Where do you even begin?
That's where this course shines. Remember that site analysis we talked about?
Yeah.
Well, all that information about your soil type, sun exposure, and even the slope of your land comes into play when you're planning your garden.
So it's not just about picking out some seeds and hoping for the best.
Definitely not. They encourage you to think about things like, do you want raised beds or in-ground planting?
Okay.
What kind of irrigation system will work best for your climate? Are there any microclimates in your yard that might affect how certain plants grow?
Okay.
It's all about creating the optimal environment for your garden to thrive.
This is where I start to feel a bit overwhelmed. It's a lot to consider.
I know, and that's why the course breaks it down into manageable steps.
Okay.
It's like building a house. You don't start with the roof.
Right.
They start with the foundation, which in this case is your soil.
Okay.
They dedicate a whole section to understanding soil health,
Okay.
how to test your soil's pH, and what amendments you might need to add.
See, that's where I get lost.
Yeah.
Soil pH amendments. It sounds so scientific.
It can seem that way, but the course does a great job of explaining it in a way that's easy to understand.
Okay.
They even use analogies to help you remember things.
Okay.
For example, they compare adding compost to your soil to feeding a hungry child a balanced meal.
Okay.
It's all about providing the nutrients your plants need to grow strong and healthy.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm starting to see how learning these basic principles can really make a difference.
Right. And once you have a good understanding of your soil, the course dives into composting. Remember how we talked about composting being like nature's recycling bin?
Yeah, that image stuck with me.
Good.
I'm actually starting to get a little excited about turning my kitchen scraps into, well, more food.
It's amazing how something that seems like waste can be transformed into such a valuable resource.
Yeah.
The course walks you through different composting methods, from simple backyard piles to worm composting, even bokashi composting for those who live in apartments.
Wow, I didn't know there were so many options.
That's the beauty of homesteading. There's always something new to learn, and there's usually a method that will work for your specific situation. Okay. And speaking of options, once you've got your compost going and your soil prepped, it's time to choose your plants.
This is the part I've been waiting for, but with so many seeds and seedlings available, how do you decide what to grow?
That's where the course encourages you to consider your personal preferences and climate.
Okay.
Do you have tomatoes, live in a hot, dry region?
Hmm.
Maybe cherry tomatoes or San Marzanos are your best bet.
So it's about finding plants that will not only thrive in your climate, but that you'll actually enjoy eating.
Exactly. They even have a whole section on companion planting,
Okay.
which is the idea of planting certain species together to help each other grow better and deter pests.
So it's like creating little plant communities within your garden.
It's all about working with nature, remembering that a garden is a dynamic ecosystem,
Yeah.
not just a collection of individual plants.
This is fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see gardening in a whole new light.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Really?
The course goes on to cover everything from watering and weeding to dealing with pests and diseases, all with a focus on organic and sustainable practices.
Okay.
By the time you finish Module 3, you'll be well on your way to becoming a confident gardener.
Okay, so I've got my garden flourishing, my compost pile is humming along, and I'm feeling pretty proud of myself.
Right.
What's next on our homesteading journey?
Remember those chickens we talked about earlier? Module 4 dives into the world of animal husbandry, with a specific focus on raising chickens for eggs and meat.
I'm still a little apprehensive about the whole raising animals for meat thing, but I'm definitely open to learning more about it.
And that's exactly the right mindset. To have the course presents the information in a very balanced and respectful way, acknowledging that not everyone is comfortable with every aspect of homesteading.
That's reassuring. So where do you even begin with raising chickens? Do I need to build a fancy coop right away?
They actually recommend starting with research before you even think about getting chicks.
Okay.
They want you to understand the different breeds available, their temperaments, their egg-laying capabilities, and even their suitability for your climate.
So it's like adopting a pet. You need to find the right fit for your lifestyle.
Exactly. You wouldn't bring home a Great Dane if you lived in a tiny apartment.
Right. Right.
The same goes for chickens.
Okay.
You need to make sure the breed you choose is compatible with your space, your climate, and your level of experience.
That makes a lot of sense. So once I've chosen my dream breed, what's next?
Then it's time to start thinking about housing. They walk you through different coop designs, emphasizing the importance of providing adequate space ventilation and protection from predators.
Wait, predators, you mean like foxes and raccoons?
And hawks, owls, even neighborhood dogs. Protecting your flock from predators is a crucial part of responsible chicken keeping.
Okay.
The course goes into detail about different security measures you can take, from sturdy fencing to motion-activated lights.
This is starting to sound a bit intense.
It can be a learning curve, but the rewards are definitely worth it.
Okay.
Imagine gathering fresh organic eggs from your own backyard every morning. And if you do choose to raise chickens for meat, knowing that they've lived a happy and healthy life outdoors makes a big difference.
Okay, you're starting to win me over, but what about the day-to-day care of chickens? Is it a lot of work?
It's definitely a commitment, but it's not as time-consuming as you might
Oh.
think. The course covers everything from feeding and watering to cleaning the coop and collecting eggs, breaking it down into manageable daily and weekly tasks.
So it's like having a feathered garden that also provides breakfast.
That's a great way to put it. And as with gardening, there's a certain rhythm to chicken keeping,
All right.
a connection to the natural cycles that can be incredibly grounding and rewarding.
This is all so fascinating. I'm starting to feel like I could actually handle this whole homesteading thing.
And that's the whole point. This course is designed to empower you with the knowledge and skills you need to feel confident and successful on your homesteading journey.
I can't wait to see what other skills we uncover. Okay, I'm back and ready for more homesteading wisdom. We've covered gardening, composting, even raising chickens. I'm feeling pretty capable, but
Yeah.
I'm also realizing that homesteading is about so much more than just like checking off a list of skills.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This course, I think, kind of subtly nudges you to think differently about success itself. It's not about the biggest harvest or the fanciest coop.
So what is homesteading success about then?
It's about building a lifestyle that's resilient, connected to the natural world, and maybe even a little bit defiant in the face of all the systems we're told we have to rely on.
I like that, a little bit defiant. It's like you're saying homesteading is about taking back some of that control we've given away to grocery stores, utility
Mhm.
companies, all those big systems.
Exactly. And that feeling of empowerment, that connection to where your food comes from and how your home functions, that's a huge part of what makes homesteading so appealing.
I've been thinking about how this course, Homesteading Basics, is called that,
Right.
but it seems to go way beyond just the basics, It's sparked some pretty deep thoughts about how we live our lives.
It's true. Learning to grow a tomato plant can lead to a whole reevaluation of your relationship with food, nature, even community.
Hmm.
And that's something the course touches on beautifully, the community aspect.
Right. It seems like every homesteader I've ever seen online is part of some amazing network of people who swap seeds, share tips, and help each other out.
Yeah, there's a real spirit of collaboration in the homesteading world. Think about it. If your neighbor has a bumper crop of zucchini and you have extra eggs from your chickens, why not trade?
Makes sense. And it's not just about bartering goods, it's about sharing knowledge too. Like, I'd be lost trying to build a chicken coop from scratch, but I bet there's a seasoned homesteader out there who could guide me through it.
Exactly. That kind of mutual support is invaluable,
Mm.
especially when you're first starting out.
Yeah.
Homesteading can feel overwhelming at times, but knowing you're not alone in the journey makes all the difference.
It's like you're building a little ecosystem of support around your homestead,
Right.
just like you build a healthy ecosystem in your garden.
Exactly.
That brings us back to something you mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
homesteading as a way to build resilience.
Right.
What exactly did you mean by that?
Well, think about the world we live in. Climate change,
Yeah,
economic uncertainty, political turmoil. It can feel pretty fragile at times, right?
definitely. I think a lot of us feel that sense of unease about the future, but how does homesteading address that?
Well, by diversifying your resources and skills, you're less reliant on any one system. So if the grocery store shelves are bare, you've got your garden. If the power goes out, maybe you've got solar panels or a wood-burning stove. It's not about being completely self-sufficient, but about having backup plans and knowing how to take care of yourself and your community.
It's like that saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah,
Homesteading is about creating a network of baskets, so to speak.
exactly. And that network extends beyond just your own homestead. When you connect with other homesteaders in your community, you're building a web of resilience that can support everyone. Imagine a neighborhood where everyone has a skill to share a resource,
Hmm.
to offer a helping hand to lend. That's a community that can weather any storm.
This conversation has been so inspiring. I'm starting to see homesteading as more than just a hobby. It's a way of life, a philosophy, a commitment to building a better future.
And it all starts with taking that first step,
Yeah.
whether it's planting a seed, composting your kitchen scraps, or reaching out to a local homesteading group.
So no matter where you live or what your circumstances are, there's a way to bring a little bit of homesteading into your life.
Absolutely. And as Robin Wolf's Homesteading Basics course shows us, it's a journey that's filled with challenges and rewards. But most importantly, it's a journey that's worth taking.
That's a beautiful way to wrap it up. I know I'm walking away from this conversation with a renewed sense of hope and a whole lot of ideas brewing. Thanks for taking this deep dive with me.
It's been a pleasure. Happy homesteading, everyone.